It's pretty good, isn't it? I like
Yeah,
it.
it's an epic gong clash for to start off the show, so that's great.
Definitely. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Dude,
Happy Friday.
I literally just woke up. I we're it's good I'm here. I literally woke up 2 minutes ago.
Nice. Got this sun shining on your face, ready to go, man.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool. So, had there was an interesting week. I think towards the end of the week, like actually today or yesterday, there was a lot of discussion around like some new nuclear verdict going around with
Oh yeah.
Warner. So I think that was like probably the most interesting thing. Maybe we can get Matt on at some point to come and join us to talk about it. But um, yeah, was that covered in freight therapy at all?
No, no, we didn't. I honestly haven't even read. I mean, is this separate from the one from a couple years ago, or is this like related to that?
It's related to that. So I believe the accident actually originally happened in 2014.
Yeah, it was in like Texas or whatever, right? And it was bad weather. The guy lost control and came across the highway,
Yeah,
came across the barrier or whatever, and hit a truck going the other way.
yeah. So I mean, in my view, the uh, pickup truck that veered across the highway was completely at fault. Um, and I'm trying to pull up Matt's Twitter thread, but we covered it in at least the newsletter today. I'll share this real quick. So let's see, window. Here we go. So this was the most surprising thing to me, was that the Warner driver was actually going 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. So he was basically doing everything kind of according to law, driving technically safer than normal, um, never lost control, and all the equipment was in good mechanical order. Um, the pickup truck basically lost control in the opposite lane, crossed the median,
Yeah.
and hit them head on. And the verdict is currently leaning towards um, Warner basically being guilty for this, but it's being taken all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court, which is pretty crazy, honestly, just given the circumstance that the truck itself was doing everything that it should have. I don't know. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a well informed take beyond just a general understanding of the situation. I don't know, but like if I take the uncharitable view of like the people make doing the suing, it's like this is a big company and there's an opportunity to get after some people who have some money.
Yeah,
I again, maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea, but that's my like knee jerk. Um,
the reaction.
because I mean, there are people like that, you know, people get wrapped up in something involving find out somebody on the other side either has a lot of money or is a big company, and there you go.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's not an ideal situation for anybody, and it sets and especially if it goes through and they end up owing the fine. I mean, that sets like kind of a crazy precedent, right?
It's a huge
Um,
precedent
yeah, so
because that
that's
basically just means that if you're doing everything you should be doing, you can still get $100 million nuclear verdict. And
yeah,
I mean, that's, for, I don't know about for Warner, but I mean, even for Warner, $100 million
yeah,
is
it's
in
a
today's
boatload
market,
of
that's
cash. Yeah,
horrible,
it's not great, not great.
not great. I don't know exactly, I mean, that, I don't think it could, but like setting a precedent like that could potentially like trickle up towards even maybe the broker itself, because if they're stretching as far as saying like, the truck that was completely not at fault doing everything it should have been doing um, is actually at fault, then like what prevents them from going as far as like up to the broker and saying like, oh, the broker was negligent for saying that they chose the carrier
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't. Has that ever happened? Um, I
I've
don't know.
definitely heard of cases like that, where the plaintiff was going after the broker for negligence of kind of choosing their carriers. I think we reported about that a few months ago. There was some case related to that. I'll try to find it and post it, but yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Whatever. Let's move on to something more happy. Do we have any happy news?
Yeah. What else happened this week?
What else happened this week? I don't know.
Let's see.
So,
We ISO Isometric Technologies. They released the top 50 carriers for 2023. So that was, let's see here. So we got a good Michael Scott Dundee Award for the top 50 carriers. And let's see here.
is it all brokers?
Yeah, so this
There's
was
a lot of brokers.
a lot of brokers. Yeah,
Fucking
getting the carrier
classic.
award.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, best carrier by region, Canada. It seemed like here we go. If we zoom in, if I can zoom in. Traffic Tech in Canada. We got Quickway Logistics. Doesn't seem too much like a carrier that much, but in the Midwest, Legend. I think that's transportation out in the West. Uber Freight out in the South, and DSV out in the East. Are these all?
Congratulations to the winners.
Congratulations. Yeah. So I think I don't know which of these are. I think that just ISO's taking the perspective of like being a provider of transportation services. So that's why maybe they're saying like the best carriers operating it. But it's
No,
a different way of
I know that brokers are often called carriers when you're talking about it from the shipper's perspective. So
yeah.
I'm not. I'm just pulling their leg. But
Yeah, I mean it was just different to me too. So
Universal Capacity Solutions. I like that name. Anyone who doesn't have the word logistics in their name is I'm down with that.
anyone who doesn't.
Navajo's a carrier. They're from I think they're from Denver.
Yeah, so they got the best. They were recognized for in terms of like the mileage band. They were Navajo was recognized for mid to long hauls. So anywhere from like 500 to 1,000 miles, basically Navajo Express. For long hauls, Echo Global Logistics, and let's see, Regional Edge
It's my
Logistics.
former employer. Shout out Echo.
Shout out Echo. Yeah, they hooked us up with some pretty nice, sweet merch. Short haul, Universal Logistics, and then local Tanager Logistics. And Tom Stawinski, which is one of our podcast co-hosts, interviewed Chris Carr and John Begine. I believe I'm saying that correctly, of Tanager. So if you haven't checked that out, that interview's pretty decent. But yeah, otherwise, let's see. I mean, last week we pretty much covered, like when Bill was here, we covered the Convoy relaunch, and it was also maybe something that I saw, which was pretty interesting. I saw some chatter about how IKEA and the old Convoy essentially had an agreement between rates, and that Convoy wasn't paying. The
I
old
didn't really
Convoy
read.
wasn't
I
paying.
didn't read about that, but what? So basically, a bunch of carriers didn't get paid.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah,
With
that
the old
sounds about
Convoy,
right.
it's not to be confused with like it being owned under Flexport, because Flexport just simply.
Well, I'm sure Flexport made it very or did everything they could in the legal side of things to make sure they weren't buying those obligations, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, that's probably why they didn't want to buy the liabilities, because there probably were so many.
yeah.
But let's see here. So the lawsuit essentially exposed some of the freight rates, and these rates basically are all in for both spot averages and contracted rates, including specified fuel surcharges. So the spot average rate, for example, for something like, let's see, Lebec West. I'm assuming that's where's Lebec?
California.
Okay, from Lebec to Sacramento, it was about 24%. The contract rate was about 24% less in spot rate. But I mean, I think the main thing that was going on was that I believe it was something related to whether the old convoy was actually paying its carriers. And there were some comments that I was seeing on Twitter about like, I don't know if they were actually true or not. But I definitely did see some comments about carriers saying like they're still owed money from the old convoy for
Yeah,
this, but
that sucks. I
sucks
mean, that sucks.
not getting paid out.
It's yeah. I don't know. Sucks.
Yeah,
And I mean, as soon as whenever any broker goes belly up, it's like, yeah, that sucks.
not a great situation. So
What else? We want to find a carrier. We were trying. I did a tweet yesterday. We were talking about it last night. If anybody's hauled a load for Convoy since they relaunched whatever last week, let us know.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So besides that, we can.
Alex Bates said, I think this is in regards to the ISO awards that.
Yeah, maybe they have. Maybe every place has a Gong, and that's why they're considered asset based. They won.
Yeah, they made the bracket strictly because the Gong is so heavy, requires a lot of maintenance.
It does. It does.
These crazy weather conditions recently.
Dude, they're supposed to get 10 feet of snow in the Donner Pass in California on I-80. Apparently, I'm gonna Google this right now because, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember last year there was like a bunch of snow on the West Coast, and like in the Sierra Nevada there was like dozens of feet of snow or something like that, and apparently this year it's like supposedly might break the single day record.
I mean, pretty crazy. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Open this up. So shout out Truck Parking Club. Which is pretty insane.
I love how they keep saying the Dooner Pass.
The Dooner Pass.
You know the story? You know why it's called the Donner Pass?
No.
Because it was like it's named after these. I think it was like the Donner Party. Some guy. It was like an expedition west. They were trying to reach the west, and they were trying to cross the Sierra Nevada in the winter, and they basically like got stuck like because of the weather and ended up. I think they resorted to cannibalism, but I could be wrong. But they all died, and they all died. Yeah. So that's why it's called that. The Donner Party. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna audit myself right now.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty wild, honestly.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why they're called that.
It looks like so winds could gust over 115 miles per hour. That's it's like what, tornado speeds essentially.
I mean, that's pretty fast. Yeah, I mean that's like definitely big hurricane, right?
Yeah.
That's wild. It's I guess there has been a lot of weather this week.
Yeah, I mean here in right next to me where I'm currently in the Chicago suburbs, there was a tornado that touched down in Aurora, and it was heading straight for where I was, but fortunately it died out before it got to here. So, but it definitely touched down in like Aurora, kind of Naperville area, and it's honestly pretty scary. I also have PTSD from like last year when we were coming back from Mats.
Oh, I remember that.
That was insane. That was 17 15 tornado touchdowns confirmed. Basically heading through the Midwest, like around Indiana area, and we were driving straight through that back to Chicago, like right after Matt's. I mean, that was that I won't ever forget. Really, that that whole experience. So like I was driving, I was just coming back home, and like this tornado alarms were going off, and I was like, oh man, this is like, normally I wasn't scared of it before, but like now I was just like, okay, this is getting creepy and weird. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's
There's been a lot of weather. I'm gonna pull up the road cam right now. Yeah, red. In the meantime, what else do we have?
what else did you go on freight therapy yesterday? Did you host it,
We
or did
did.
somebody else host it yesterday?
Yeah, no, I did it. We had a good squad. We what the heck did we even talk about? It got TJ. It got a little not safe for work. TJ of TJ of Santa Barbara Freight. He's
Sure.
we got to get him. We got to get him. He needs to be like recorded because he's crazy, but he's also like very successful and runs a very interesting business. But he was like driving the truck, and he was on one, and he was talking all sorts of road knowledge. So
Interesting.
yeah, it was good though. We had a good showing.
Anthony told me that on Freight Pro Tuesday, that there was a pretty interesting demo that was done, but
Yeah,
I've been going to sleep pretty early.
yeah. It was Moniva. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, they were cool. They hit me up a couple weeks ago and asked if they could demo, and I said sure. And I had not met them before, but they built this tool to basically help carriers, brokers, and shippers keep track of and bill for accessorials a lot better, like detention and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So just yeah, but it was an interesting. They demoed an MVP they had that, like, yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. I think
What was their website? Do you remember?
yeah, here it's I'll put it right here. That's the name of the company. Yeah, Moniva.com. But yeah, they were both Marina and Jason. I think that's their names. Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, good, well thought out. Looked like they've been working on it for a while.
So there's just like detention tracking, charges.
Yeah, and just like communication, because detention is like, it's kind of crazy how few people like actually end up requesting it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's so many just like hoops to jump through for some customers. Like a lot of times brokers will end up paying it out but never get reimbursed from the shipper. Like it's kind of a, or oftentimes carriers just won't get paid, which sucks too. So it's like,
What was this
it's
thing
kind
about? What was the thing about some type of a ruling around detention? Detention pay. Did you hear about that earlier this week? I think we wrote about it
I
in
don't
one
think
of the
so.
newsletters.
Um,
There was something regarding.
I mean, I know there was something to do with drayage, like demurrage charges.
Trying to find something here. Maybe it was on Monday.
Bro, the roads are looking treacherous. The current
Yeah,
road
you got the
camera
camera.
conditions. Yeah.
Throw up the camera if you got it.
All right, hold on. Wow, there's still trucks going. Holy cow! There's one guy. How do I share my screen?
Just share the screen and I'll post it up.
Share screen. Can you see this?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Holy
You can't
cow!
see anything.
I don't know why it's lagging like that, but you get the point.
Yeah,
You can't. The
you
visibility is
can't.
terrible. Like the roads are. I'm surprised the road's open.
Honestly, that's in Colorado.
No, this is in California. This is right on. This is on I-80, like right near the California-Nevada border, near Lake Tahoe, and in Truckee, if you've ever been up there.
Mm-hmm. I haven't driven through there personally, but I know where that is
It's
roughly.
a sweet area, but it's just, I mean, this is like a notorious choke point, and it's like one of those things where if you're trying to go east, it's like, if you're trying to go east, it's just from Northern California. You either go this way or you got to go a long way to go to detour.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway.
haven't driven through there personally, but only like during the summer. One of my drivers at Audubon basically drove the truck out to California, but it was like during the summertime, so he didn't.
I mean, you literally like it's like right here. That's where it is.
Okay. Oh, so that's
Yeah,
probably it is red. That's
yeah. I mean,
interesting that
this
they
is
didn't
this
close it
is right
down.
where it is. I mean, it's literally like probably nice and sunny right down here, and then just actually, hold on. Let's.
Like it should
Yeah, I
show
mean,
in the mountains.
it's how do I really like this site windy.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh, that's pretty
it's
cool.
pretty. Yeah, it's a cool weather map. I mean, it's like nice, it's clear down here in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Sacramento. I mean, it's literally the mountains come out of nowhere right here. It's pretty crazy. So, anyway, yeah.
Let's
So
see.
stay safe on I-80, people.
Yeah,
How about that?
please do.
It's like all
Yeah,
these
and
roads
then I don't know, like in regards to that nuclear verdict, like I don't even know what people could do to stay safer or like prevent themselves from getting into nuclear verdicts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Do they have to go 20 miles an hour safer, or 30 miles an hour? Sorry, slower. Um, I don't know. That just like does not add up to me whatsoever. So, but what else? On Monday we had like I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a CDL fraud case.
Yeah,
So this guy Mikola from Port Barrington, basically like the trucking company's a 33-year-old trucking company, but long story short, individuals could pay $500 to cheat on their CDL exams. And supposedly this was actually like pretty sophisticated, where they connected microphones to their shirt collars, and then the transmission of the answers was like pretty seamless, like allowing these people to basically cheat on at least the written portion of the exam. Um, and to be honest with you, like I've always been pretty surprised at the fact as to how so many drivers who basically can't really communicate in English um, are able to get behind the wheel. And
yeah,
that was kind of part of the reason what motivated me to get my CDL a few years ago, was because I was like, if these guys, fresh off the boat from wherever they are, can come in here and pass these exams without speaking a lick of English, like how hard it can it be? But at that time, I didn't really know truly how things like kind of worked in many places, and so it's I mean, this is obviously not great for just the broader safety of the industry.
yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean,
supposedly, like the
it,
former Illinois
aren't you
governor was
supposed to
involved.
be like? Don't you have to speak English to pass the test?
You definitely do. You definitely do, and it's like the test is not exactly easy either, per se. I mean, I tried taking that test. I tried winging it the first time. Totally would not recommend doing that, and
Did
then it
you
didn't
fail?
pass. I passed. Yeah, I didn't fail. I failed the first time. So it took me like multiple attempts to actually do it, but I also didn't go through a course. I taught myself, so it's little bit of a different story. But like I actually ended up studying, passing properly, and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, the written portion was lengthy. And like if you don't study, like for sure you won't. There's no way you'll pass for
Hmm.
sure. So Um, there's a lot of like pretty interesting like questions there too. A lot about like doing like pulling two trailers at once. Like typically, I think it's called tandem load, if I'm not mistaken. And then how do you go about braking in such a configuration, things like that. It's yeah. If you haven't actually like learned how that stuff works, then you won't. There's no way you'll know. So, um, but anyway, the seems like the former governor of Illinois. Um, was not exactly involved in this case, but there was a lot of similarity in like with this case and the case in the 1990s, where a lot of drivers, or basically between 1992 and 1995, Illinois allowed CDL written tests to be taken orally in various different languages, which bypassed the federal requirements for English proficiency. And I think that's like pretty odd, given that you kind of really need to have at least some form of English proficiency to pass these exams. Um, but it seemed like applicants could bring their own translators, which is like, somebody could just basically tell you how to pass the test at that time. But, um, but yeah, there's also like a lot of, there was a extensive case of this in California too. There's a whole network of like CDL drivers as well. So almost like $277,000 in
So this
total.
whole industry is basically just one giant like people like if there's a way, people are gonna cheat. It's
People are going to
just
find a
like
way.
it's such a big thing that like if human nature, I think, just comes into play at that scale. Like somebody's gonna cheat. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, man, yeah, I had there were a couple carriers that I worked with back in the day who, I would always talk to the dispatcher. They were like, driver doesn't speak English or whatever. But I actually had a carrier where none of the drivers spoke like any English, or at least that's what they told me. Because I feel like oftentimes they would tell you that so you didn't call them. But like because that's like another thing too. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that makes sense.
one of my favorite carriers to work with ever were a bunch of dudes who spoke like the drivers literally only spoke Spanish, because I tried to call them and they didn't. So I ended up stopping. But they all, I mean, it was like one of my favorite carriers. So it's not to say that there's not good carriers who don't speak English. Like that's my point.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't go to say that, because you can technically learn the English that you need for that, for that exam. I've definitely seen people do that. But then if you don't use English all the time for whatever you learn and you lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. So, um, and especially like a lot of these companies, like they just simply speak their native language
Yeah.
with the drivers, right? So the drivers like
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
need to know that much English to
I
actually
mean, in
deliver
a
that
perfect
message.
world, it would be better if everyone spoke English, but the reality is that's not like how the world works.
Yeah,
But I mean, it just kind of is what it is. It is what it is.
yeah.
Um,
Other than that, there was Ken Adamo, the chief analytics of DAT,
yeah,
was sharing some insights about how it's like the second last week was like the second worst on
yeah,
record in terms of reefer loads.
yeah,
So quick.
yeah. He's been doing he's been doing a good job on Twitter lately. I feel like.
Yeah,
Um,
he's been posting some good stuff. But yeah, he said that this is just simply looking back over the last 10 years. Last week was the second worst on record in terms of reefer loads posted on DAT for week 7 of this year. The only week with less was week 7 of 2016. Was also which yeah, was also a very slow time in freight as well. So that was if you're going through rough times right now, just know everybody else is going through them right now too. So I mean, I think everybody knows that already, but ultimately Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was talking pretty much everybody that I was talking to, and a couple like industry vets as well. They were all saying like out of the 20, 25 years that they've been in this business, this is by far so far been the worst in the last like few weeks that it's really ever been so far. So
That's that sucks because I feel like a couple weeks ago everybody was writing about how like we were back and that the market
yeah,
that we had reached a turnaround. We had hit the valley and we were on the climb out. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. And that there goes to say like what making predictions in this industry really means, because like nobody's gonna get it right, honestly, from like one day to the other. It's yeah, it's completely unpredictable. Although I will say that like even a couple months ago, I just in general just didn't see things overall like improving that much. And the main indicator, like at least for me to have that gut feeling, was that just like all the money that simply got pumped into the system over like whatever the post COVID or during COVID and post COVID, it was just it didn't seem like that was going to end that well, and it was going to take a while to recover from that. So I don't know, but I mentioned this on one of the other shows that just overall credit spending is going through the roof.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is
Everybody's everyone's fully levered, dude. It's yeah, and like I haven't looked at the actually I haven't looked at the stock market. Is the stock market like at record high right now? Like
S&P
I know
is
crypto is like ripping. Like what is going on? Like,
so
it's not like
I
interest
think
rates have come down. I mean, they haven't even they've continued to go up, right?
so. I don't really follow crypto like too closely, but from what I understand, there's basically a event that's taking place very soon in regards to Bitcoin, called Bitcoin halving. I
Oh
think
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
It's going to happen supposedly really soon, and supposedly like the price of Bitcoin is basically going to jump to like 100,000 just naturally because of that. It's kind of like a stock split in a way, I believe. Don't quote me on this because I'm literally just the most maybe uneducated person about crypto because I pay attention to it the least. Um, but I believe that that's been a big factor of it. And at the same time, these ETF uh, products that are now being offered by like these big companies like BlackRock and so forth have actually been released. Like people can actually buy into these ETFs. So a lot of money has flown into uh, Bitcoin, particularly over the last, I think, like month, ever since those ETFs were launched. I think they were launched a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, um, but I do think ultimately, like crypto, I mean, at least I can't speak for most of it, but like Bitcoin, it does seem like it will be here to stay. It just will come in waves here and there, but people will end up buying it.
I mean, dude, like
Hoping that,
I've dabbled a bit. Like I in the last cycle or whatever they call it, I pulled a lot of the casino levers and lost a bunch of money and had some fun. Um, so
yeah,
I'm like somewhat familiar. But I if you've ever done like a transaction on one of these like with the monopoly money, like sending money to people, like paying for stuff, is so it's cool, it's fast, and like it opens up kind of a world of possibilities on the internet where you don't really see microtransactions on the internet as much, right? Like a
yeah,
dollar, 50 cents, whatever, right? Because the processing charges for credit cards are so expensive that like it basically prohibits or it's not economical to sell products at that sort of price.
yeah.
But like crypto, like so that's it's just interesting the ramifications it could have on like what can be done on the internet. And that's what I'm most
I just
interested in.
can't see like right now. I mean, if the price fluctuates so much, right? It's just how can it be actually used as a I don't know if it's just not stable enough, and if is this stability of such a currency, instability of such a currency, um, will actually allow for like regular commerce, will it allow for that currency to be used in regular commerce? That's really ultimately my question, is that is there some future in which instability no longer actually matters? Because if it doesn't, then yeah, sure, like a digital currency like that could maybe work, but I just can't wrap my head yet around, you know, how do we all pay in Bitcoin or whatever it may be, if the price literally can fluctuate 10, 20% in a single day or more.
Yeah, I we need to get we need to get some one of our resident freight slash crypto bros to come on and talk about that.
Yeah, Dom has some opinions on it.
Tom Tula is the resident crypto degen. So
Maybe we can bring him up.
maybe one of these days he can come on here and pill
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
But I mean, it's interesting because like the payment speed is so slow, just generally. People are just waiting to get paid all the time. This
Wire
whole
transfer.
industry is basically waiting to get paid 24/7. And that's not necessarily just because of the slow moving financial system, right? Oftentimes shippers are on whatever net 30, net 60 pay terms because they're waiting to get paid, right?
Yeah.
So it's just the whole velocity with which money flows through the system. I don't know if faster rails will result in quicker payments. Maybe it will. I don't know, but I mean,
I don't know if like faster rails will. I mean, there's a pro and con to that, right? Because the faster you can actually move money, the harder it will be to actually, um, let's say, resolve any fraud that may
yeah.
occur, right? So like the fact that a wire transfer may take 24 hours, right? And there's a person usually that like checks that transfer, especially if it's a large amount. Like
Mhm.
there's a kind of a good thing to that, in my opinion. And like when it comes to, shippers taking 60, 30, 60, 90 days in some cases, to actually pay out brokers or carriers, I don't necessarily know like if faster payment rails, um, will do anything about that, because ultimately it's like the accounting department that, is, you know, it's I think it's more boils down to like an internal policy of, hey, let's try to wait as long as we can, to pay
Oh
out.
yeah, there's always going to be there will always be an incentive on the part of like a shipper. I haven't thought this through, but to me it makes sense that you want as flexible terms, you want as much time to pay somebody as you can, because that just provides you some more flexibility.
And gives you,
Um,
better, cash flow and
so I don't know though, like there were times where I I mean some of the payment terms are insane. Like I know there are people who are on like 90, 180-day pay terms. And
yeah,
like if you
that's
screw up an
180
invoice,
days.
yeah, if you screw up an invoice, like they'll put you back to it'll basically just restart. And yeah, I mean it's pretty wild. Like, well,
It's hard to
shippers are
even fix
always,
that.
huh?
It's hard to even fix that because like, what do you can't even offer a shipper a product. Like it doesn't even make sense for the shipper
Well, I
to
mean,
adopt a
if
product.
you're a big broker with like, you know, big financial backing, then you might be able to wait. And oftentimes those are big shippers that like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You want their
Yeah.
business.
There's no
Uh,
incentive. There's no incentive right now for shippers to maybe there's very little incentive right now for shippers to actually pay their service providers faster, because ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, there's no book of record as like that kind of evaluates a shipper based on like, how good are they to work with, right? In terms of like your own business, if you were to work with a shipper, is it going to help your business as a service provider to work with them, or is it going to actually hurt you? Because if
is
the
Shipper
payout is three
CRM going to
months,
provide this information?
we'll see. But yeah, it's a pretty clear thing. Like for a while, like I mean, pretty much nobody knows for the most part, what what it's like to work with a shipper until you actually work with them, or you know somebody who's worked with them, right?
Yeah.
So
It is. It is what it is. I asked a question last night to the group, which was if I were to open a brokerage on Monday, could I not do any actual sales, like outbound sales, and just use memes to get people to give me freight? Like,
I think so.
like, and I also took it a step further, and this is probably the stupid part of the idea, the really stupid part of the idea, which is could are there any shippers who by nature of their product or their business are interested in leveraging their broker as a marketing channel as well as a transportation service provider? Scenario, imagine this.
Interesting.
You give me a load and you're selling like some consumer good, right? Maybe you're like a small fledgling, consumer goods startup, and you sell whatever toothpaste, some new kind of like fancy toothpaste. Like those guys you need to market your product, right? And you have your normal channels of marketing your products.
To have your
But what
freight
if
broker, have your freight
yeah,
broker,
not
carrier.
your freight broker. Your transportation provider is usually not a marketing channel for you. But if you give me freight, I'll tweet about, I'll brush my fucking teeth with your toothpaste all the time, and we'll post about it.
That would
And
work.
we'll post about moving the freight too.
That would maybe work for you, but you know this yourself. Like carriers are probably the worst marketers on the face of the planet.
Oh yeah, I know that for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if that would work for the broader sense, but for you, yeah, I could probably see that working, honestly. As you know,
I just think it would be actually cool to like have, because most brokers are very closeted, right, about who their customers are, like what loads they're doing, and for good reason. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But like I always just wonder, like, what if I just did the exact opposite and just like everything was public? Hey, broker transparency, baby. I could be a transparent broker.
It's not all that, like, look, there's maybe something in that, in the sense that if you are doing the marketing and you're actually able to track like the traffic you're bringing in to your shipper, like, I mean, that's some form of a signal of knowing like how much capacity you might have to actually allocate to them in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how valuable that would actually be. You might know better than me, but I mean, I could see there being something like that, having access to that information, but you should try it, Reed. You should try it and let us know how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to open a brokerage anytime soon, but
no.
I mean, the reality is that monetizing in this industry, everybody lately I feel like has been saying, oh, if you're a broker, you should be buying, off the shelf tools. You shouldn't be making tech, like yada yada. And I don't know if I buy that. I've never started a brokerage, so I'm, a little bit out of my element here, but like, I don't. Everyone who's saying that is making technology for brokers to buy. So of course they're going to say that. Yeah, buy our stuff. Don't build your own stuff. Buy our stuff. Yeah, of course. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. I if you could actually build custom stuff, that's good. Like, I don't know. I like custom stuff. Building custom stuff's fun.
I mean, it seems like Flexport's of the few companies that I've so far seen, that I should also be looking at the comments here, but yeah, I totally missed like half these comments.
I'm listening to the Elon biography on audiobook right now.
Which one, with Ashley Vance, or the one
new
with
one? The new one.
The new one. Okay.
And his basic, like his entire philosophy is like do everything yourself. Everything you possibly can do yourself. And so they're like, making as many of the parts for all of their space and cars and stuff. And that doesn't mean that everyone should follow suit, but or it's good advice for everybody. But right. I don't know. I mean, the more control you have over your processes,
it's harder to do that but 100%, the more control you have, like the more vertically integrated you are, the less you have to be dependent on somebody else. And it's kind of just all about having control and tight control of your own process. It's kind of, I mean, it's just basically like building software, more or less the same thing. It's just from a perspective of building a company. So, but Justin says Bitcoin cannot be used as a currency because everyone is too busy hodling. Yeah, that's definitely the case. But
What
I
else do we
wonder how
have?
many people in the United States actually own Bitcoin. I think there was some statistics about that. I know we're going back to that right now, but
It can't
I
be.
missed
It can't be like. I mean, I don't know how many it is, but it can't be like that insane.
brokerages should start buying up Bitcoin to offset their 30, 60, 90-day period of getting paid by the shipper. That might be a decent strategy. Don't take my advice, though. It's not financial advice. Probably might make you go broke. So, what else is there?
I don't even know.
Honestly,
I'm
there's a lot of
still.
like drug busts this week. I think we reported on like 3 of them just in this last week alone. $1.5 million in stolen goods were recovered. Record meth seizure of 6.5 tons at Eagle Pass Port, and then a lime shipment which hid $3 million worth of cocaine. It's crazy,
Hell yeah.
crazy amounts, or just crazy frequency, like how much of this stuff is actually getting. I wonder how much is actually not even being reported, honestly. But it's good that it's being like monitored and caught. So anyway, all right. Next week we got an interesting topic. Next week, I believe next week is with our friend from that's building airships.
Hell yeah.
I
Let's
believe
go.
that's him. But I'm looking at his email, and it ends with .edu. So maybe he's a professor or something like that. But
Professor of airships.
professor of airships, that might be that I'm looking forward to that. That's been a theme for sure of yours, Reed, since a while now. So
Yeah, no, that's going to be good. I look
might be a
forward to that with
viable mode of
anticipation.
transportation. We'll see.
I'm getting picked up in an RV tomorrow at like 8 a.m. by the guys from Gnosis Freight.
Okay.
And we
Nice.
are going to TPM in Long Beach. But before that, we're gonna like camp tomorrow night, like in the desert in Joshua Tree, I'm pretty sure.
That's gonna be pretty sweet.
And so yeah, tomorrow so I'll be posting some good content from the road with these dudes.
I don't think you can see the aurora from the desert, but in the event that you do, make sure you post it and tag Lombard.
What, the Northern Lights? Yeah.
yeah.
I'll for sure tag Lombard.
Just kidding.
But anyway, yeah. So I'll be doing that. And I think I come back on Wednesday. So anyway.
All right. I think we'll call it for this week.
That sounds good.
Next week we'll be chatting about airships, new mode of transportation, and potential new mode of transportation. And we will see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in, and till next time. All right. See you guys.
Sounds good. See ya.